Welcome back to Sip and Talk.
Hey, everyone. Great to be here.
So today we've got two pretty big topics lined up. Global economics, AI, NVIDIA.
And then the Epstein files controversy.
Yeah, not exactly neighbors, topic-wise. You might be wondering why we're putting these together. Maybe it's the coffee. Maybe it's just, Sip and Talk randomness.
Could be. But maybe there are some threads connecting them around power, tech, and trust. We'll see.
We will. So our mission today, unpack the latest on the tech investment scene, especially NVIDIA, and then really get into the weeds on the Epstein situation and why people are still demanding answers.
But first, that important note.
Right. Crucial disclaimer time. We are not financial advisors, definitely not investment experts.
Nope. What we talk about regarding the economy, tech stocks, NVIDIA, it's all just information, facts for you to consider. It is absolutely not investment advice.
Our whole thing here is objective discussion. We want to give you the info so you can think for yourself.
Exactly. Make up your own mind. Okay, so shall we dive into the whole AI and economics picture first?
Let's do it, starting with NVIDIA, because they're not just like a chip company anymore, are they?
That's such a key point. Wall Street's still kind of catching up, I think. But NVIDIA is fundamentally AI infrastructure. It's way beyond just data center parts now.
I saw one analyst predicting they could be the first $5 trillion company.
Wild, isn't it? The scale is just wow. But their numbers are pretty staggering.
Yeah. Record quarterly revenue, what was it, $44.1 billion, up 69% year over year. That's huge growth.
It is. And the engine driving that, their data center business, pulled in $39 billion. That's almost 90% of their revenue. It just shows this massive global AI build-out that's happening.
Right.
And what's really interesting is their role in sovereign AI projects.
That's sovereign AI. What's that exactly?
Think of them like national AI factories. Custom-built for specific countries' needs, its culture, language, laws. It lets nations keep control over their data, their security, basically build their own digital brain that fits their society.
So they're embedding themselves right into national strategies. That's a big deal.
It's a very strategic play.
Okay, but speaking of nations, the U.S.-China chip situation, that's been quite the ride.
Oh, yeah, a real roller coaster. So earlier this year, April 9th specifically, the U.S. government basically told NVIDIA, hold up. Their Hopper H20 chips needed a special license to go to China.
Which effectively blocked sales to a massive AI market.
Exactly. Huge market. And it hit their financials directly. EPS dropped 9% quarter over quarter. They had this $4.5 billion write-off for those chips.
Wow, $4.5 billion. Just for inventory they couldn't sell.
Yeah. Hit their gross margin. And they were even forecasting another $8 billion write-off for H20 inventory in Q2. That's serious money.
No kidding. So what was the thinking behind the restrictions? Did analysts think it would work?
Well, that's where it gets complicated. A lot of analysts saw it as a double-edged sword. Like maybe it hurts the U.S. more than it helps in the long run.
Oh, so?
Because China's AI market is already enormous, over $50 billion and growing super fast, like 30% a year. And Chinese companies, Huawei, Baidu, Alibaba, DeepSeek, they're pushing ahead anyway.
Right. They're not just waiting around.
Not at all. So the question becomes, do you cut them off from current U.S. tech, maybe slow them down now, or do you sell them slightly older tech, keep your market share, and maybe slow down their drive to become totally self-sufficient? Because if they can't buy U.S. chips, they will double down on building their own. It's a tough call.
A real strategic dilemma, but then things changed again.
Big time. Just recently, NVIDIA and AMD got the green light to start selling some chips to China again. Specifically, NVIDIA's H22 chip.
H22. Okay. So that signals maybe tensions easing a bit between Washington and Beijing?
Seems like it. And apparently, behind the scenes, NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang met with President Trump recently and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. He reportedly viewed these chip controls as a kind of bargaining chip.
A bargaining chip? For what?
For other trade negotiations. Things like rare earth elements. It suggests the bloc wasn't just about stopping China's tech progress, but also about leverage, especially since China needs so many advanced chips.
Interesting. And the market reaction?
Oh, the market loved it. Huge relief rally for tech stocks. NVIDIA, AMD, both popped. Analysts are now thinking this could add billions back to NVIDIA's revenue this year.
Billions. And maybe offset that projected $15 billion data center revenue risk they were looking at for fiscal 26?
Potentially offset a good chunk of it, yeah. But the debate isn't over.
Why not? They can sell chips again.
True, but these H22 chips, they're generations behind NVIDIA's latest stuff. They're actually pretty comparable to what Huawei can make domestically now.
Okay, so not exactly cutting edge anymore.
Right. So the China hawks, people really wary of China's rise. They're not happy. They worry it still helps China's military AI.
But the counter argument is?
The counter is, well, if NVIDIA doesn't sell these, Huawei just takes over the entire Chinese market and maybe starts expanding elsewhere. Plus, China's pouring money into its own tech anyway. Self-sufficiency is probably inevitable. This just affects the timeline.
It's like choosing the lesser of two evils, maybe. Such a complex game.
Absolutely. And it connects to the bigger picture, too. AI isn't just chips and software. It's driving huge changes in energy infrastructure.
Right. President Trump announced that massive $90 billion investment in Pennsylvania, didn't he? For AI and energy.
Exactly. New data centers, upgrading the power grid, AI training programs, it's all connected. Because these AI systems, these data centers, they're thirsty for electricity.
I saw a stat. Data center power needs could jump 160% by 2035?
160%. It's staggering. Think about the strain on the grid.
No wonder the oil industry is pushing for tariff exemptions on stuff like copper and steel. They need it to boost energy production just to keep up with AI demand.
It's a massive challenge.
Yeah.
Which is why you're seeing interesting solutions pop up, like Oklo, that nuclear company.
Yeah. What do they do?
They're developing small modular reactors, SMRs.
Yeah.
Basically smaller, potentially safer, quicker to build nuclear reactors designed specifically to provide clean, reliable power right where data centers need it.
Nuclear power. For data centers, that's it.
Innovative. It could be a real game changer for meeting that huge energy demand cleanly and affordably.
So stepping back from NVIDIA specifically, what's the broader investment feeling right now with this AI boom and everything?
Well, there's definitely excitement, but also some caution. Many analysts feel the market looks stretched, maybe due for a correction.
Stretched, like overvalued.
Kind of. And this bull market is in its third year now. Historically, year 3 often brings just single-digit returns. Plus, July through October, they tend to be the roughest months for the market.
Okay, so potential bumps ahead. What might trigger a correction?
Could be a few things. Maybe the Fed doesn't cut interest rates like people hope. Or maybe they even raise rates again. Or just a general growth scare, fears the economy is slowing down too much.
What about tariffs? We hear about those all the time.
Interestingly, analysts think the market's kind of immune to tariff news now. It doesn't seem to be the big trigger it once was.
So what are the strategies people are talking about then, if things look stretched?
One piece of advice floating around is to look outside the U.S. dollar. Allocate more to emerging markets, international markets. Apparently, they've actually done better than the U.S. market so far this year.
Really? Selling America, buying the world?
Sort of. It points to this idea of strategic reallocation. But, and this is key, even with high valuations, the advice is generally to hold your tech stocks.
Hold tech, even if it's stretched.
Because that's where most of the growth is expected to come from. It's just
the
sheer scale of it all, the money, the energy needs. It shows how interconnected everything is globally.
It really does. Okay, so from that world of AI power and global economics, we need to shift gears pretty significantly.
Yeah, to a different kind of power dynamic, the one surrounding truth, accountability, and the Epstein files.
Right. Jeffrey Epstein, obviously the notorious figure, convicted sex trafficker, abused minors, died in prison back in 2019.
And his death just seemed to deepen the mystery, didn't it? All the questions about his supposed client list, tapes, documents. The public demand for transparency hasn't gone away, especially about the powerful people linked to him.
And this is important for you listening because this whole situation really taps into why so many people distrust government, distrust institutions.
Absolutely. You've got these persistent accusations of cover-ups over many years. People are deeply skeptical when officials say things like there's no client list or definitively conclude it was suicide.
And the conflicting statements don't help.
Not at all. You had Pam Bondi, former DOJ advisor, claiming there were tens of thousands of hours of video showing horrific crimes. But then Kash Patel, who was at the FBI, comes out and says, essentially, that evidence doesn't exist, nothing you're looking for.
Tens of thousands of hours versus nothing. That doesn't build confidence.
It feels to many like the government is just insulting the public's intelligence, Right. It fuels the distrust.
And then you have the names involved, or rumored to be involved. Big names like Bill Clinton, Donald Trump. It feeds these theories about, elite pedophile rings.
Right. And that's why people are demanding the flight logs for his plane, the Lolita Express. They want search warrants released, financial records, anything that might show who his powerful accomplices were.
Ghislaine Maxwell, his main accomplice, even said she'd testify to Congress, right?
She did express willingness. It all ties into this fundamental human desire for justice. People see this as horrific human rights abuse. They want all the files out to expose everyone involved and see them punished.
It's that feeling that the powerful might be getting away with something terrible.
Exactly. And that frustration runs deep. You even hear some extreme sentiments online, calls for, public hangings, crucifixion, which obviously aren't mainstream, but they show the level of anger and frustration about perceived impunity.
Wow. That's intense. And this has political fallout too, doesn't it, looking ahead?
Oh, for sure. It could definitely impact the 2026 midterm elections. You see splits even within the Republican Party. Some, like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Anna Paulina Luna, are pushing hard for disclosure.
But others are quieter.
Yeah, especially some younger Republicans.
Yeah.
Maybe they see it as too risky politically.
Mm-hmm.
But if the Trump administration, assuming they're in power, doesn't handle this transparency issue well, it could really cost the GOP votes. Democrats could potentially gain from that.
And speaking of names connected, Kevin Spacey. His name popped up on one of those flight logs.
It did. And he's actually come out publicly calling for the immediate release of all the Epstein files.
Mm.
He said something like, "The sooner the truth is revealed, the better for those who have nothing to fear."
Interesting statement, given his own situation.
It is. And his situation is fascinating, right?
Mm.
He was legally acquitted in the UK on sexual assault charges.
Really? Found not guilty.
But his public image is still, canceled. Or just weird, is how some people see it. It really highlights that gap between what happens in court and how the public perceives someone.
And there was that strange timing with one of his accusers.
Yeah, that was unsettling. An accuser committed suicide literally the day after Spacey released this kind of bizarre return kindness video online, which meant those specific criminal charges against him were dropped.
Just a lot of strange coincidences. And wasn't there something about him and Ghislaine Maxwell on the throne at Buckingham Palace?
Yeah, there were reports, photos even, allegedly showing them sitting on the throne, which just raises more questions about access, connections, who allowed that. It adds to the whole murky picture.
It all seems to feed back into that deep distrust of institutions, of powerful people. It reminds me of that Reagan quote.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help."
Exactly. It taps into that feeling and maybe a fear politicians have of people with nothing, people who feel they have less to lose by shaking things up.
That's an interesting point. It also makes you think about how people sometimes tie their values so strongly to individuals, like a specific politician, instead of the underlying ideas.
What do you mean?
Like it can lead to this kind of naive view where you struggle to accept that someone you support could do something wrong. You end up trying to justify things that don't really make sense. Because if my guy did it, it must be okay, or there must be a good reason, right?
Yeah, I see that. The mental gymnastics.
Right. And fundamentally, if you want to change behavior, you have to understand the motivation, take away the reward for bad behavior, and apply consequences. Seems basic, but often doesn't happen, especially with the powerful.
And that frustration leads some people to pretty extreme places.
You even hear this fringe idea sometimes, people saying they'll vote for the most extreme, radical, insane candidates possible.
Why would they do that?
The thinking, as extreme as it sounds, is to kind of accelerate the collapse of a system they see as totally broken, hoping something better eventually emerges from the wreckage. It's a very nihilistic view, born out of deep frustration.
Wow. Okay. But setting aside those extreme views, the core message seems to be
that despite all the different opinions on how to handle the Epstein files, there's a really broad agreement among the public that more transparency is needed. The demand for truth is just undeniable.
So, yeah, we started with AI, NVIDIA, global economics, trillion-dollar companies shaping the future, and we ended up deep in the weeds of the Epstein case, justice, and public trust, seemingly miles apart.
But maybe not entirely unrelated. The common thread seems to be about power. The power of technology, the power dynamics in these trust crises.
And the need for transparency and accountability in both areas. It underscores why we do Sip and Talk, right? To try and help you make sense of these complex things, whether it's AI's future or the fight for truth, and encourage you to think critically.
Exactly. To connect the dots yourself.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. We've got technology like AI racing ahead, changing everything. And at the same time, we have this intense push for truth and accountability in cases like Epstein's. Both things are really challenging our existing systems, forcing us to question and adapt. So the question is, what's our responsibility as informed citizens in demanding both progress and accountability? Something to mull over.
Definitely something to think about. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Always great to unpack these things.
Yeah, thanks for joining us for the Sip and Talk. We really hope you got some valuable insights. If you did, please hit that subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts.
And hey, quick shout out to our old friend Mickey. Check out his YouTube channel, Mickytolife.
Oh, yeah. Mickytolife. He's got fun memes, music, wine tasting, travel vlogs, all sorts of good stuff. Go check out Mickey's latest videos.
Do it.
All right, we'll catch you on the next Sip and Talk.